We are here together to see like a more detailed, like tool, let's say, or even more like a concept or type of project, to be more precise. And we are viewing right now sustainable mobility and sustainable urban mobility plans. So, what are exactly these plans? They are like the transfer of the concept of sustainable mobility that we discussed before into a project, into like a document, to be more precise. So these plans are something that they want to transform the planning rationale of today. They are like the the transformation of conventional transport to more sustainable solutions. So the need for a sustainable urban mobility plan is like we have the concept of sustainable mobility, but we have to complement that with a kind of document that will help us find our strategy, will help us find the measures, and will help us find the correct ways of implementing sustainable mobility in real life. So that's the plan. That's the rationale behind all these SUMPs that we hear. And to be more precise, we have created this table, which is like the two different planning approaches. We have the conventional transport planning approach and the sustainable one. So the conventional transport planning approach was mainly realized by some traffic projects or traffic measurements, and it was very connected with infrastructure and short and medium term planning. Its main goal, this kind of conventional approach, its main goal was to operationalize traffic capacity and speed, to promote the motorized and especially car movement. And also the vision was led by the representatives and led by the experts. And it was like a top-down approach. So after like some years after the 90s, after the concept of sustainable mobility was like getting more and more attention, we had to inspire a different kind of plans and a different kind of like projects to implement in order to foster sustainable mobility, because we couldn't foster sustainable mobility with the old tools. We have to find new ones. And these new ones should be human-oriented. As we said, human-oriented planning approach is a very critical element of sustainable mobility. Furthermore, our main goal when we talk about SUMPs is to enhance accessibility and improve quality of life. Is not only about speed and capacity and efficiency. It's about how we really interact with each other and with the environment. Therefore, we can see that the SUMPs are really related with the integrated planning. We talked about the integrated planning principles before, but we see that integrated planning is realized through one of the many ways to realize integrated planning is through SUMPs. Okay, so what we can find in SUMP, we can find an interdisciplinary approach, we can find policymakers, experts, and citizens that they plan together through some participatory approaches, more active or more simple. It depends, but we have to underline that. What else? What else? We have a complete impact assessment. We have scenarios also. This kind of strategic planning and the foresight, because previously in the conventional transport planning approach, it was like, okay, we have these problems. Okay, take one solutions. Okay, at least two, let's say. But there is not embedded there the notion of strategic planning. On the other hand, here in SUMPs, we have the strategic planning approach. This is very, very, very different. This is a radical difference between these two approaches. So according to the official term, because, okay, the European Union has set some terms and concepts about the SUMPs. A SUMP is a strategic plan that has been made to satisfy our mobility needs and also to promote or to make the background, create the background for a better quality of life. So it builds on existing planning practices, but it now overcomes them and joins like the fight for more integrated planning, more participatory planning, and more evaluation and control of our proposals. So the principles of a sustainable urban mobility plan are the following. We focus on a functional urban area. So we are not so limited through the boundaries, the official boundaries. We are more into exploring the functional area of a city or a town, what else? We have cooperation across institutional boundaries, thus we have this cooperation, and we now involve citizens and stakeholders. Also, we set the future, we like think of the future. We're not only forecasting, but we envision the future. We have like a clear vision for our plan, and then we have a clear implementation plan with various measures. They are not only like traffic policy measures. That could be urban planning measures as well, or urban and transport planning together measures. It is very, very important that we have to go beyond all these conventional practices. We are embarking into an era where practice and policy making affecting transport could be either societal and also efficient. It's not only about moving things and freight and goods and people. It's about understanding them and realizing all these principles of sustainable mobility into a plan. So we have to consider all transport modes, not only cars, because the conventional approach considered mainly motorized vehicles and especially cars, not so much focus on public transport, because they wanted different kinds of projects for public transport. But now SUMPs do a strategic approach that reflects both on motorized and active movement. So we arrange our plans and then we assure their quality with some evaluation metrics and indicators. The basic characteristics of a SUMP. The main goals: improve accessibility and quality of life, as we said, protect the environment. Of course, we have the sustainable word in it, so we have to be environmental friendly. We praise road safety. We develop a fair, attractive, and efficient urban realm and also peri-urban realm, because SUMPs are not limited to very dense urban areas. They can also address different kinds of needs outside them or at the periphery. And the key components are the following. Firstly, we assess the current situation. We understand and we identify the future trends. Secondly, we develop a vision. This is the second step, and we may see the steps in the next slide, but just briefly, the most major ones. So we see the common view, we set the vision, and then we adopt an integrated set of measures. These measures could be either regulatory, promotional, is like initiatives, financial, again initiatives, but in a financial and incentives way of promoting our sustainable mobility schemes, technical, and of course, infrastructure. So we see different kinds of measures. It's not only about widening the sidewalks. It's not only about like creating a bus line, a new bus line. It's also about making walking as a procedure, something comfort, something attractive, something that is safe, something that is really connected to the environment that we live. So these kind of various measures formulates the realm of the interventions and the policies that we are going to take. Then we monitor and evaluate the implementation of these measures, because to propose them is the first step, but when we want to evaluate it is another step. Without it, we're constantly propose things that they do not have a foundation on reality. We just propose things, and this is a mismatch towards strategic approach and really making plans. Because okay, a plan is something that has a strategy, but also has the measures that should be rearranged based on our results and the outcomes. For example, if we propose something that is really radical, and we do not have the expectations that we think that we are going to have, that we wait. So what are we going to do? We have to rearrange our strategy based on the outcomes. Also, it's a plan really connected with evidence-based, because it's now a methodological tool. It's not like arbitrary measures made by our mindset. It's something that connects our mindset to specific kind of methodology. And we also have potential financial tools. This is very important as well. So the steps of a SUMP, when you go to the official steps in the official guidelines, we have 12 steps and 4 phases. Like the first phase is the analysis of existing situation. We have the next step, which is like we have understood the existing situation, and now we go towards the future, and we have to envision the future. We have to envision these scenarios. We have to understand our objectives of each plan. And then it's like the implementation phase, the measure phase. We set the strategy, we set the measures. And the 4th phase is the monitoring phase. We have set the measures, and now we have to set the monitoring indicators. Because it's like you can see that without 4 phases and sticking only to the first 3, we are gonna lose this connection of reality and strategy. So it's very important to have 4 phases. So just to clarify them, is like we collect and assess the data, we evaluate the current situation, we identify the vision, and then we define the evaluation measures. Then all these kind of strategies, they are summarized in an action plan. So we need an action plan. The final output and the most critical output of a SUMP is the action plan, which is dedicated to how we can find budget, we can find, in other words, the money to spend and to allocate them to different kinds of measures and different kinds of actions. So an action plan is really needed, and it's a final step of a SUMP. So why we need them? We have seen some reasons, we have discussed some reasons, but just to describe them more in a more clarified way, we have the better quality of life and better environment. We reduce the greenhouse gas emissions. We save economic sources because we can limit traffic congestion through a really successful SUMP. We can also sustain some different kinds of local economy initiatives. And also, it's like a vessel, it's like a driver for a new urban mobility culture when we develop another vision, different from the conventional one. a more human-oriented vision where we respect people and we respect their mobility needs. As we see, the users are many, so we have to respect them through these kind of processes. We improve accessibility. It's also very important when we strive for fair and equal and equitable opportunities for everyone. But we do not narrow the benefits on one page. We have another also. We balance the policy measures and the infrastructure interventions, because after all, buildings are buildings, roads are roads. Policy measures are also needed. We do not have to focus only on making roads or on making pavements and sidewalks. We should understand that policy measures and a strategy related to, for example, car parking prohibition or car-free zones or low emission zones. There are policy measures. It's not an infrastructure. It's like a policy. It's very important for sustainable mobility. It's the planning perspective, not an engineering perspective that we only build things, but we have to manage things also. What else? Public participation and citizen support is very, very important, an important benefit of a SUMP. Interdisciplinarity, because when you hear the word SUMP, we have to take into account the sustainable word, the S word in front. But when you really engage into making a SUMP, you have to be in a disciplinary mode, let's say, in a team. We cannot build for strategic transport planning that affects our cities, affects our neighborhoods, affects our economy, our environment, and only traffic engineers could do that. Surely they should be included. Of course, they have the primary role, but we need an interdisciplinary group of experts or group of policymakers that could really contribute from their different perspectives. Also, the final one is like the SUMPs could be used as a means to access funding. It's like a paper, a document that when you have it, you can obtain the right to claim for budgeting in your city. So it's very important. You want to make sustainable mobility practices, then you have to make also SUMP, because not only for the strategy, but also for warranting these kind of policies and interventions that you want to fund. The sets of policy measures and interventions. First of all, we can propose many measures. But the point is that we do not have to confuse the decision makers. We have to be clear. When we make a SUMP, we have to divide and to classify our measures. So we have public transport, first of all, as a group of measures, creating bus lanes, enhancing the frequency, enhancing green light for buses, creation of a metro line, expansion of a suburban railway, active mobility and accessibility, for example, making every sidewalk in neighborhood A, for instance, accessible. This is a measure taken from that group. Cycling routes or walking routes. These are very important for the second group. The third group is shared mobility, car sharing or e-bike sharing, or even sharing minibuses, which is something lying between public transport and shared mobility. So we find these kind of solutions here. Communication and promotion. A set of measures should be really connected to marketing and to promote social marketing, to promote our idea within an inspiring manner. Electromobility, electrification is also very important, and we have to see about the negative effects as well. Road safety and traffic management is very, very important to control traffic, to enhance road safety by some interventions in junctions and in the city. Parking management, very critical, really critical, because without parking management, we cannot do almost anything. We have to acquire the space of constantly park on street parking cars and vehicles. We have to acquire that space sometimes to devote this to pedestrians and disabled people and elderly and anyone that tries to live in the street and to interact in the street. So parking management is very important. Also within that group is to set kinds of spaces or organized parking spots and parking places. What else? Urban environment. We saw that sustainable mobility is not only about traffic and transport related measures. It's also for urbanism, urban place-making measures and initiatives. So we also have to take into account urban planning. This is a major difference compared to conventional projects. The conventional projects, at least here in Greece, were like very distinguished between each other. So we have one clearly designated for transport and one other clearly designated for urban planning, but they do not have any of like connection. So in SUMPs, we reverse that kind of connection, which is like limited or absent, even absent, and we establish a real connection between these two elements. The final one is not the main point of SUMPs, but it's really, really important. We have to consider freight transport as well. There are the SULPs, which are the Sustainable Urban Logistic Plans, but anyhow, we have to connect this kind of movement. When we say mobility, it's more about people, it's not about goods. But when you try to change the environment, maybe as we saw in the previous presentation of Ioannis, is like that we have to understand when we want to change freight transport and logistics, how can we do that within the context of an urban mobility plan? Because we affect them. For example, if we have a road in our city and it's full of shops and we do this pedestrianized route, what about logistics? What about the carrying of new products? What about that? We have to take that into account. So freight transport should also be like examined in a SUMP, but not mainly, not fully, but as a part of the other measures. It's not be avoided. So we're going to see some pictures again. Pictures have the keys for some of these times. We have the measures of road safety and accessibility innovations. Here you can see before and after on your left. We see here is the pointer. We see that a junction like that really transformed into a very, very sustainable or like more human-oriented urban landscape. Here we can see other solutions with crosswalks. This is a simple crosswalk, but in the next slide we can see other ways of crosswalks, or like the pavement with different kinds of colors, different kinds of crosswalks. Here we can see also mini roundabouts and roundabouts in general. It's a very, very efficient measure towards road safety. So here we have low-cost solutions. We have cycling interventions, lanes, tracks, and shared streets. The lanes are this kind of infrastructure, or this kind, it could be an advisory lane. Cars can pass by this lane, or an exclusive lane like this. Cars could not move there. We have tracks which are really oriented like this, really oriented to cycling, and especially sometimes they are only for cycling. Here is not, but others are like this, is only dedicated to cycling movement. And we also have shared streets where we can mix like the environment for both people walking and people cycling. Other measures. We have the school protection zones and in general interventions of like vertical or horizontal signing. Here Crosswalks can be like an example of horizontal signing, let's say, or this kind of coloring. The pavement is for horizontal sign, this kind of crosswalks, and these are vertical signs when you reach a school. So around schools is very, very important to transform the urban environment and with a perspective to enhance road safety. Final slide for some measures and interventions before going to some pictures, really pictures from some ideas and projects. We have to see the crosswalks, which is like a mix of imagination and a mix of efficiency. Here we have some creative pedestrian crossings that really affect safety, but also affect the urban landscape. It's like they make it more pretty, let's say. But we have challenges in all of these measures. We have to be very sure where and when and how to implement a specific measure. It's not like an all kind of solution. They have to be tailor-made and adjusted to our context. For example, if we try to implement these 3D crossings, before some measures, we have to establish vertical signs to warn the drivers that they should concern the pedestrians and the cyclists and the disabled people crossing the street. And then the crosswalk will also do its work. But mainly we have to make an integrated environment with signs. And also signs should be not so like very should not be isolated. They should be integrated. For example, here we have this street with this kind of colored crosswalk. We should continue that to the street. We should use like an interface. It should be a common interface. So the driver could understand that, okay, I have here a crosswalk, but maybe I would have another 50 or 100 or 150 meters away. So we have to look for a homogeneous type of planning if we want to send the same message. The message should be sent through the right kind of infrastructure. Now we're going to see some pictures which are very interesting. We have here some plans, some ideas, and they are really the projects. They are the projects from Greece. Okay, we have familiarity with Greece, then I think it's better to describe this kind of case. And I'm gonna show you some different cities within metropolitan areas or outside cities of medium or bigger size cities. So first of all, we have Rethymno, which is in Crete. It's like a small sized city, 30,000 residents inside this kind of area. And what we can see is that the radical scenario, we have two scenarios in its SUMP here in Greece. We have like the not so radical, like the more conservative, and then a radical one. And this is for 15 years term. It's like 15 years from now, let's say. Here, the radical solution, what does it achieve? It achieves like many traffic calmed areas here, the neighborhoods. It achieves also these kind of low emission zones and car-free area inside the central, the historic center of the city. And we can see all these junctions, they are proposed to be improved in the future. Also, what we have a motorway that is peripheral to our city, and we also have a mini ring road. Here, it's proposed to be constructed in 15 years, so we can avoid this kind of through movement that we have today. Here we have Sparti, or Sparta as it's called in some cases. which is like in Peloponnese region, in the southern part. And we have also the same kind of approach. We have this ring road. Here it is, the ring road, that deters the through movement that could be done today. Here is the flow today. This is the historic, not historic, this is the new center, because partly was really remade in in the 19th century. Here is the old part of the city, the ancient part of the city. Here is the new one. Here we can see that we have an extensive zone of parking control, where we should park our car in specific places and not everywhere. This is also another, the controlled parking, another measure of SUMPs. Here we can see Kozani in the northern Greece. So this is a medium-sized city, more. The others were small. And we can see accessible green routes. So this is not so much of a traffic measure. It's like coming from urbanism, of urban planning. We can see the radical scenario as well, 15 years term, that bike sharing systems are spread across the city, and all green areas and the center, which is here, the center of Kozani, they're all connected with some green routes. This is very important for a SUMP, because we really consider active movement. But we are not only limited to walking routes or cycling. We are here to promote public transport as well, and on-demand public transport, because on-demand public transport is the most really the most suitable solution for areas like Rethymno, which is a city, and the municipality is a wider area with rural areas inside. So we have like the public transport lines inside the city. We have the stops here. We have some proposed. This is the stop of like the regional bus, but here are also the taxi service, which can be used in a shared manner, the taxi services. And it's like a key to change the one and only passenger, the one and only customer sometime, to make it like a shared mobility mode, and to receive more passengers as well. So we can see some places of some taxi stops. We can see the on-demand areas here and the routes here. So we connect the city with the suburbs, because Rethymno has some small suburbs, and we have to connect them with public transport, because today they are really isolated. And unless, okay, here, to be more exact, they are more of public transport lines, but here they're not. They are completely isolated from public transport. So you need the car. What else? Before we conclude, we have some more pictures. We have like cycling routes, different kinds of measures and interventions. We have like a cycling track, which is wider, but also we have cycling streets where we share the road space with pedestrians and the cyclists. And we can also have advisory lane, which is a lane that can be passed by cars, as I said before. And here we have Haidari. It's a municipality within Athens, within the metropolitan area of Athens, because the other cities that we've seen, they are more like areas in rural and regional areas. They are not so of a metropolitan area like Athens. And we can see we have the school protection, like some buffers, and more precisely some roads that we're going to implement this vertical and horizontal signing thing. Last, we can see the street classification again in a different kind of area. In Pyrgos, it's also a small side city, but the form is different. So this goes to connect that street classification should understand the form of the city, or should make the form of the city. Here, the city is all protected in 15 years term, but maybe somehow this could be an expansion of the city if we want that. If we really think that it is warranted, it's needed to expand the city, we can also see that our ring roads with the blue and the most prominent ones with the red, they also protect this area. So we can see the 15 years time, in 15 years time, we have the center of the city, which is really a car-free zone. And in the radical scenario also, we have this kind of traffic calming areas. The whole dense city is covered by these areas. The other areas which are more like the buildings are dispersed and they are more rural ones, they're not covered, but in case of expansion, as I said, they could be covered in the future because we have acquired this mini ring road and the main ring road. So the public transport, to conclude, is also very important to other contexts, not only in cities with uh, small suburbs. Here in Agios Nikolaos, it's a city also in Crete, in the eastern part. We can see that they have suburbs as well as Rethymno, but here they are closer to the city. So what we can do, we can also implement these kinds of the on-demand transport because they are okay, although they are very close, they are not so dense. So we can also propose some on-demand areas. That's all for the SUMPs. Just some final notes before ending this lecture as well. We have to once again underline the notion of the human-oriented planning in sustainable mobility, and SUMPs are the reflection of that, are the means for changing the environment. The measures could be various, not only traffic related. We can do policy measures, we can do suggestions, urban planning suggestions, we can do like games in the street or play streets, we can do promotional activities. All that compose a strategy and not an exact project, an exact measurement. SUMPs are related to a strategy. Then projects could follow. And for each kind of impact, we could make a specific and a detailed document. But SUMP has the indicator and the strategy. And they all are summarized in an action plan, which can be used for founding as well. So that's all from me. Again, thank you so much for being here. I hope I was on time and it was understood. Thank you so much.